Good Wednesday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for July the 10th. Today we are reading together Psalm number 84, the 84th Psalm. It has been given the title in my Bible, Longing for God's House. The superscription of the Psalm says, for the choir director on the Gittith, a psalm of not Asaph, but a psalm of the sons of Korah, a psalm of the sons of Korah. These sons of Korah have been we've already seen them appear in the Psalter already up until this point, back in Psalms 42 through 49. And really, since we're being introduced to them for the first time in a long time, it's good to think about this as a pretty cool redemption story for the sons of Korah. Because whenever I say the word Korah or the name Korah, good things probably don't come to your mind concerning the Bible story. If you go back to Numbers 16, I believe it is, there is a rebellion against Moses and his leadership within Israel, and it was carried out by Korah, and many within his family died. So there must have been at least one son, it seems, that survived that judgment, and they end up being pretty important within the tribe of the Levites. They actually end up being gatekeepers within the temple setting, and part of that is described here within this psalm. There's a mention of a threshold serving as a doorman, and so we see how that would fit in with the livelihood and the duty that had been given to the sons of Korah. I believe this psalm would categorize as a praise psalm, as the son of Korah or the sons of Korah look to being in God's presence, being in his house and among his people in praise and worship. So let me get the psalm up on the screen for us, and we'll read along together here in Psalm number 84. Psalm 84 again, longing for God's house. Let's read along together here. Psalm 84, beginning of verse number 1. How lovely is your dwelling place, Yahweh of armies. I long and yearn for the courts of Yahweh. My heart and flesh cry out for the living God. Even a sparrow finds a home, and a swallow a nest for herself, where she places her young, near your altars, Yahweh of armies, my King and my God. How happy are those who reside in your house, who praise you continually. Selah. How happy are the people whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage. As they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a source of spring water. Even the autumn rain will cover it with blessings. They go on from strength to strength. Each appears before God in Zion. Yahweh, God of armies, hear my prayer. Listen, God of Jacob. Selah. Consider our shield, God. Look on the face of your anointed one. Better a day in your courts than 1,000 anywhere else. I would rather stand at the threshold of the people, or excuse me, I would rather stand at the threshold of the house of my God than live in the tents of wicked people. For Yahweh, God, is a sun and shield. Yahweh grants favor and honor. He does not withhold the good from those who live with integrity. Happy is the person who trusts in you, Yahweh of armies. And that is Psalm number 84, Longing for God's House, a psalm of the sons of Korah. The psalm begins by painting a picture for us of an individual who has a deep, soulful yearning for being in God's house. How lovely is your dwelling place, Yahweh of armies. Notice this, I long and yearn for the courts of Yahweh. My heart and flesh cry out for the living God. So we have the imagery here of his dwelling place, of his courts. Moving on to verse number 3, talks about the birds being near your altars. How happy are those who reside in your house, who praise you continually. Here the author is again painting the picture for us of desiring to be able to go freely to Yahweh's house, even as the birds get to. The birds get to be near Yahweh's house. They are free to come and go as they want to, and that's what this man is imagining and is longing for, the ability to freely come and go from Yahweh's house, to at any point where when his heart yearns for it and longs for it, to be there in the presence of Yahweh. And he says that in doing so, he is happy or blessed. So happiness, a blessedness comes from being in Yahweh's presence. Again, verse number 5, we move on and look at this pilgrimage now image. So it seems like he's away from the house, and now he's making his way toward the house, beginning of verse number 5. Happy are the people whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage, who are longing to make the ascent to Mount Zion. As they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a source of spring water. Even the autumn rain will cover it with blessings. They go not from strength to weariness. Think about any sort of trip that you go on. The longer you go, the more tired you get. But not here within this psalm. No. They begin in strength and they continue on in strength. There is a maintained vigor here to be in Yahweh's presence. So they each go and they appear before God in Zion. So Yahweh, God of armies, hear my prayer. Listen, God of Jacob. So there's hearing and listening that is requested from the author. We've seen that many, many times as the psalmist will make supplications to God. But here we have almost what seems like a random mentioning of the anointed one. And I think here in reference, or in verse number 9, the reference of your shield is to the king, is to the anointed one. So consider our shield, consider your king. Look on the face of your anointed one. And that imagery and that idea of looking on the face of is to bless and to strengthen and to be with the one upon whose face you look. So as they begin with this desire, they're now they're imagining making this trek to be in Yahweh's presence. And he makes this very strong statement in verse number 10. Better a day in your courts, a single day, than 1,000 anywhere else. One single day in Yahweh's presence, in his courts, is better than 1,000 anywhere else. Just the value that the psalmist here puts on being among God's people in worship. The psalmist says, and it makes sense that he would say this because this is literally his job as a family, I would rather stand at the threshold of the house of my God than live in the tents of wicked people. So he would rather serve as a doorman than to be in comfort among God's people. He would rather be at the door, just at the door, serving, opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing. He would rather do that than be among those who are wicked people, yet live in comfort, in the value of just being that close to Yahweh's house and Yahweh's presence. But why? Why would someone be willing to spend one day in Yahweh's courts as opposed to 1,000 anywhere else? Why would he rather be a servant just at the threshold, at the door of the house, than be in comfort in the middle and the tents of the wicked? Well, because there's great blessings, there's rich, tremendous, valuable blessings that come from being in Yahweh's presence. For Yahweh God is a sun and shield. Yahweh grants favor and honor. He does not withhold the good. From who? Definitely not from the wicked, but instead from those who live with integrity. Those who live with integrity. So what does that have to do with being in God's presence? Well, think about the principle that is constantly found throughout the Old Testament, especially whenever it comes to the temple and his tabernacle and just God's presence in general. Only those who can come in God's presence are those who live with integrity. And as we'll see in verse number 12, those who trust in Yahweh of armies. So in order to experience blessings, you have to be in God's presence. But in order to be in God's presence, you have to be someone who lives with integrity and trust in God. So yeah, I can totally see here, looking at verse number 10, why he would rather just spend a single day in his courts than 1,000 anywhere else. Why he would be so blessed within his mind to even just serve as a doorman. A doorman. Again, not someone in the center of the space, the center of the house, just kicking back and relaxing, but he would rather serve at the door than to be in comfort in the tents of the wicked. Why? Well, because it's only in God's presence that we get to enjoy him as a sun and a shield. It's only in God's presence that we get to enjoy favor and honor. It is only within God's presence that we enjoy the good that he longs to give us. So what a blessing it is to be certainly in God's presence, and specifically to enjoy the blessing of worship together with his people. Of course, just being a part of Christ, we have that ability to enjoy Yahweh's presence, but especially we should value and take with great appreciation the opportunities that we have to be together with God's people every opportunity that we get. I appreciate you so much tuning in for this reading today on this Wednesday. Hope that you'll be back again on Friday as we continue looking at a couple of Psalms of the sons of Korah here, both of them talking about Yahweh's favor, his restoration, his blessings. So we'll look forward to reading Psalm 85 together on Friday. As we speak about being in God's presence and praising him with his people, I hope that we'll see a lot of people there tonight for our monthly song, scripture, and supplication service as we gather together at 7 for that time of encouragement and uplifting for one another and toward one another, and also, obviously this being a praise or an offering of praise and worship to God. Hope to see you then. Again, thanks so much for tuning in today. We'll see you again on Friday. Take care and God bless.